willingness to share, serving the role of Director of U.S. Census Bureau, and your willingness to Sheriff Gonzalez to serve as the head of ICE. And I have a couple of, I've asked a lot of yes or no questions, gentlemen, but I'm going to ask about three of them of Sheriff Gonzalez today to start this off. And if you would just basically give me a yes or no answer, I would appreciate that. At the direction of Secretary Mayorkas, ICE is prioritizing, I think, as you know, for folks who pose a threat to our public safety for enforcement. Do these priorities take away from ICE's ability to arrest anyone who enters the country unlawfully? Just a yes or no.
No.
All right, second question. Do you believe that local jurisdictions should cooperate with ICE when it comes to apprehending criminals who pose a threat to our public safety or national security? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And lastly, do you believe that ICE should be abolished?
No.
All right, you're 3 for 3. Let me talk a little bit about root causes. As my colleagues in this committee know, I'm a big root cause guy. I believe that until we address the crime, corruption, the lack of economic opportunity that drives folks in Central America and Northern Triangle and other places, we don't, unless we address those drivers to make the journey north, we're going to continue to see migrants arriving legally or illegally at our borders 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Sheriff Gonzalez, I'm pleased to hear that you are also a root cause guy, just like me. And like a number of my colleagues, I'm also pleased to hear that you are a collaborator by nature, because the importance of collaboration cannot be overstated when it comes to advancing the mission of ICE, an agency that's been lacking a Senate-confirmed director for over, listen to this, 4 years. 4 years. That being said, if confirmed, how will you work with your DHS and law enforcement counterparts in addressing root causes relevant to the mission and work of agents at ICE? Please.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate it. As you mentioned, I'm a collaborator by nature. I've learned to expand coordination and collaboration in my roles, both on Houston City Council as Mayor Pro Tem, working a diverse group of agencies, as well now as the Harris County Sheriff, both on the law enforcement side, when we're making sure that we're being strategic in our enforcement, that we're protecting our region from harm, as well as developing continuums of care when it comes to dealing with vulnerable populations that have been incarcerated, that are grappling with addiction, mental illness, and other things. I've been able to work very collaboratively with many to do that. I would work closely with the ICE workforce that has that experience in those relationships. I would make sure that I'm working with our sister agencies to make sure that we're fulfilling the mission of protecting our homeland and keeping the integrity of our maintaining the integrity of our border. So I would make sure that we continue to work with those relationships. I do it now working with HSI, with the U.S. Marshal's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, with ICE, with many others. I believe in coordination. I think it's important to fulfilling the mission of ICE, and I would be very committed to continuing that.
Good, thanks, thanks so much. Let me change gears and ask a question of Mr. Santos, who's been nominated to be Census Director. And Mr. Santos, in I think it was June of 2021, the General Accountability Office, affectionately known as GAO, published a report that found planned innovations implemented during the 2020 census helped the Census Bureau optimize operations and slow the trend of increasingly costly decennial counts. At the same time, the report made 3 recommendations for improving the way the Census Bureau tracks and measures the benefits and cost savings attributable to specific innovation areas. Mr. Santos, can you please take a moment to share how you might work with GAO and their Controller General, Gene Dodaro, to implement open recommendations and other lessons learned from the 2020 census as the Bureau begins to prepare for the 2030 count? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Senator. I believe it's important to work with GAO. I believe they are an ally to the Census Bureau in terms of informing them on cost efficiencies and other types of strategies that can be used in terms of creating a more effective and efficient census operation. I also believe that GAO represents one of a number of stakeholders that can and should be consulted in order to get their ideas, their innovations that they offer in order to consider for the upcoming 2030 census. I understand that, and I would feel, if confirmed, that as director, there is an obligation to carefully consider and respond to GAO suggestions on innovation and other types of activities like this. I know that the Census Bureau has, as I've said before, an incredibly talented staff, career staff, and they have been working on innovations. I expect to, if confirmed, work with them to understand the direction that they are currently taking with regard to innovations, and the GAO response will be part of that.
Okay, great. Thanks, thanks very much for that response. Question back for Sheriff Gonzalez. Sheriff Gonzalez, can you take this with respect to leadership? I like to say that leadership's the single most important ingredient in the success of almost any kind of organization on our planet. Absolutely critical in government and federal government especially. Sheriff Gonzalez, could you take a moment to share with us how your nearly 2 decades of experience in law enforcement has prepared you to take on the role of ICE director after years of vacancies at that agency?
Thank you, Senator. I'm very proud of my background. I've worked extremely hard. I'm a very hard worker. I have a strong work ethic. My heart's in the right place. I'm an effective, proven leader that's been able to effectively lead and manage large workforces. I've been able to dismantle drug and crime networks. I've personally worked complex investigations where I've had to go and tell a mother that their son or daughter was killed as a result of gun violence. I've led and oversaw our law enforcement response in our county to an unprecedented event when it was up to her with regards to Hurricane Harvey. I've been battle tested. I've been on the ground. I know how to lead at a high level and effectively lead a large workforce. I've also never forgotten the importance of those frontline team members are out there doing the heavy lifting each day. So I know how to lead. I know how to be effective. I'm a good listener. I'm a good collaborator. I'm a good steward of taxpayers' resources. I've done it effectively leading a large budget of over $570 million in my years as sheriff, and helping have a hand with the city's budget of nearly $5 billion as well. So I've been proven an effective leader. I'm battle tested. I know how to get done. I also understand when it comes to law enforcement that we could be firm on crime, we could be firm on enforcement, but we don't have to lose our compassion and humanity as well. So I try to be a leader that approaches things from a thoughtful manner that looks for results.
Great comments. Thank you for those, and thanks again for your willingness to serve. Thank you.